In our previous video, we covered Divya's usurpation of power from the Palas in Varendra. We also covered Ramapala's escape from prison, Ramapala's ascension to kingship, and his gathering of allies, which included Vijayasena. We left off just as they marched towards Varendra to conquer it and return it to Pala control from King Bhima. The sun rises over the vast waters of the Ganges, its golden light reflecting of a great assembly of warriors. Ramapala's maternal cousin, Mahapratihara Sivarajadeva, leads the vanguard and crosses the river first. The defenders of Bhima, scattered and disorganized, fall before them. The frontier guards, ill-prepared for the storm descending upon them, are swept aside. A flotilla of boats, stretched across the horizon, carries the full might of Ramapala across the sacred river. Vijayasena marches with him, his presence amongst the warriors felt as one amongst many. The crossing is seamless, the Ganges bearing witness to the return of the Pala king to the lands that once were his. Varendra trembles. The land is caught in confusion. Who now rules this contested territory? Bhima's villagers waver, unsure whether to resist or surrender. Ramapala leads a force unlike any seen in years. His army roars forward, an unrelenting tide of horsemen, foot soldiers, and elephants. The war drums thunder, drowning out the cries of the desperate and the hesitant. Ramapala's conquest is not driven by ambition alone. Vengeance burns within him. He remembers the cold, suffocating darkness of his prison cell, the weight of iron shackles around his wrists. The court nobles, a class to which Divya belonged, had whispered poison into the ear of his brother, King Mahapala II, leading his brother to cast Ramapala and Shurapala II into prison. Though the usurper Divya himself is long gone, his legacy still lingers in Bhima, Divya's nephew and the man who dares sit upon the throne of Ramapala's ancestors in Varendra. Varendra is Ramapala's birthright. His ancestors built this land, ruled it and nurtured it. Now it lies fractured and lost, the people confused, uncertain who their true ruler is. Ramapala intends to put himself forward to make it known that the imperial glory of Bengal will return under the Palas. The example of Ramapala's rule in Bihar made it clear that Bengal would be led into an era of strength, wealth, and unity under his leadership. Even if vengeance and justice did not drive him, necessity would. Bhima's raids into his lands threatened the very foundation of his kingdom. If Ramapala did not put an end to Bhima and take back what was rightfully his, then it would be Bhima who would take everything from Ramapala. Yet Bhima enjoyed popularity amongst his people. He is no king draped in gold, nor a ruler who feasts while his people starve. His garments are simple, his meals no different from those of the common man. The wealth of Varendra does not fill his coffers, it is given back to those who need it most. His rule was not meant to mirror the old ways of kings and emperors. It was a revolution, a break from the past, an experiment into equality. But revolution alone cannot sustain a realm. Bhima's dream of an egalitarian society, of a land free from the tyranny of the aristocrats, had begun to falter under the weight of reality. The nobility, once stripped of power, had fled and turned against him. His advisors, chosen not by birth but by conviction, lacked the experience to govern. His taxation, meant to fuel a system where all could prosper, had instead drained the will of his people. Still, Bhima refuses to abandon his cause. The clan that Bhima belonged to, the Kaivartas, they had risen from nothing, from fishermen and peasants, and claimed Varendra as their own. They had proven that power did not solely belong to kings and dynasties. Why should he now yield to the son of the very dynasty that had ruled over them for centuries? To surrender to Ramapala would be to undo everything. Bhima and Ramapala stand at the helm of their armies, facing each other on the vast fields of Varendra. The earth trembles beneath the weight of gathered steel and war beasts. The air thick with the scent of sweat and battle lust. The stage is set for either conquest or annihilation. On one side stands Ramapala, the rightful ruler, a beacon for those who dream of a restored empire. With him are well-armed warriors and masterful statesmen, leaders including Vijayasena. On the other side, Bhima stands tall, a ruler not by blood but by will. Behind him, his men, countless peasants, fishermen, and hardened warriors alike, stand ready with the attendance of some allied kings. They had risen from nothing, fought for everything, and now they will defend what they have built. Bhima's dark eyes burn with defiance as they meet Ramapala's gaze. He finds in Ramapala not just a king but a challenge to everything he stands for. Ramapala, calm yet unwavering, finds in Bhima a man who has stolen his land, his people, and his empire's dignity. The inevitable battle between the two rivals begin. It is written that this battle was A battle in which both rival kings, Ramapala and Bhima, kept close to each other. A battle in which there was a terrible encounter amongst swordsmen who made a fearful display of swords, moved towards and jumped upon each other. And a battle in which cavalry troops, surpassing the speed of the wind, were cut down to pieces, in which the multitudes of foot soldiers were severely injured, in which elephants with flowing ichor were stricken down, and in which many heroes were split asunder. As the battle rages on, the tides begin to shift, not through bloodshed, but through whispers of gold. One by one, the kings who had pledged their arms to Bhima abandon his cause, swayed by Ramapala's cunning diplomacy and the promise of wealth and power. Their banners fall and their forces melt away into the horizon. Bhima, once the leader of a grand rebellion, finds himself surrounded by little more than the very peasants he swore to protect. Yet they do not waver. They fight not for land or riches but for an ideal. Their makeshift weapons, bows carved from the forest, spears tipped with scavenged iron, clash against the disciplined ranks of Ramapala's army. They ride into battle atop buffaloes, driven not by the art of war but by desperation. But desperation is no match for steel. One by one they fall, and soon Bhima, the last man standing, is utterly surrounded. Realizing his doom, Bhima spurs his war elephant forward, its great tusks gleaming, its armored flanks smeared with the dust of battle. But the beast senses its master's desperation. Its eyes widen, its breath quickens, and before long, panic takes hold. Trumpeting wildly, the elephant rears into its hind legs, sending Bhima lurching. The ground beneath him feels unsteady, the world spinning as his trusted mount, his symbol of power, refuses to obey. The soldiers of Ramapala tighten the encirclement, weapons raised, ready to end the war with a single decisive strike. With measured steps, Ramapala approaches the rampaging beast, his presence a stark contrast to the chaos around him. He does not raise his weapon, he does not call for his men to strike. Instead, he lifts his hand, his voice cutting through the battlefield with the calm authority of a ruler who commands not just armies, but destiny itself. The elephant stills, its breathing slows. Ramapala meets Bhima eye to eye. He sees in Bhima not a tyrant, but a man who fought for something greater than himself. A man who in another life might have stood beside him rather than against him. Ramapala assists Bhima to dismount the elephant. Bhima, once the ruler of Virendra, now stands as a man stripped of his sovereignty. His lands are lost, his allies scattered, and the great dream he has fought for has crumbled into dust. His body bears the scars of battle, but it is his senses that suffer the most. His sight is dimmed and his hearing is dulled, as if even the divine had forsaken him. He submits before Ramapala, offering no terms, no final plea, only unconditional surrender. Yet Ramapala does not treat him as a mere captive. Bhima is provided the privilege of being placed under the custody of Vijayasena, Ramapala's son. No chains bind him, no cruel hand strikes him down. Instead, he is shown hospitality and kindness, an honor rarely afforded to fallen kings. Bhima adapts swiftly to his captivity. He walks without chains, a prisoner in name alone. He speaks periodically with Vijayasena, using words which grow warmer as time passes. Though Vijayasena is no fool, Bhima's sincerity is difficult to doubt. He is no craven warlord seeking gold and status, he is a man of the people. A leader who, despite his defeat, holds true to his ideals. Bhima praises Ramapala's vision but gently suggests that in some ways, his own rule sought the same end. Prosperity for the many, not just the mighty. He does not ask for freedom, does not bristle at his captivity. Instead, he embraces his role as a humble guest, never once giving Vijayasena the reason to suspect treachery. But beneath the surface, Bhima's mind moves like a serpent in the undergrowth. By firelight, as Vijayasena and his officers rest, Bhima pens his secret correspondences. His messengers slip into the night, carrying instructions to his ally and close friend, Harivarman, the ruler of Vikrampur. The war, Bhima whispers through ink and shadow, is not yet over. While Ramapala's forces celebrate victory, believing the conflict to be settled, Harivarman's warriors prepare to strike, moving to encircle the Pala forces in a maneuver none would suspect. Then, on a moonless night, Bhima vanishes. The sentries see nothing. The guards who had once been wary now sleep without worry. Vijayasena, lulled by the ease of their conversations, does not realize his mistake until it is too late. By dawn, Bhima's chamber is empty, his bedding undisturbed. An alarm spreads through the camp as the realization dawns. The man they believed broken was never broken at all, and now the trap is closing. Bhima's escape is not just an act of defiance, it is a betrayal that reignites the flames of war. The trust Vitapala had placed in him, the respect Ramapala had shown, all of it is discarded in the name of ambition. It is not just Ramapala's rule that Bhima has undermined, it is the very concept of diplomacy, of honor between rulers, and the price of this treachery will be measured in the blood of many. Bhima joins up with Harivarman, who had moved swiftly. Following Bhima's secret instructions, he had gathered his forces and encircled Ramapala's army, striking when the Palas least expected it. The illusion of peace had cost them dearly. What was meant to be the final chapter of the war now begins to unfold into a desperate struggle of survival. The Pala forces, exhausted and overextended, are caught in a vice. Harivarman's renewed assault is swift and calculated. His forces, emboldened by Bhima's return, strike at the Pala army's weakened flanks, aiming to tighten the encirclement. What had been a war of conquest has now turned into a war of endurance. Vitapala, who had once seen Bhima as a man of conviction, could only watch in horror as his former prisoner's betrayal turns the land into a battlefield once more. But Ramapala and his commanders, including Vijayasena, seasoned by warfare, do not falter. They rally their forces to prevent the encirclement from fully closing in. The focus shifts to Harivarman, who has become the beating heart of this reignited war. Harivarman has moved against the Palas in good faith, believing that Bhima's cause is righteous and believing that the Palas have no future. But war is not won by ideals alone, and Ramapala's kingdom, for all its struggles, still holds one undeniable advantage: wealth. Ramapala's eldest son, Rajyapala, works tirelessly, sending envoys and spreading whispers. Bhima's revolution is noble in spirit, but its reality is dire. His policies have weakened his own realm, and his taxation has driven people to misery. Will Harivarman truly stake his future on a leader who has lost everything once before? And then there is the gold. Ramapala's wartime treasury is drained, but the spoils of Bhima's own camp, the very wealth Bhima once hoarded to sustain his movement, now become the weapon that turns his allies against him. The truth settles like a weight upon Harivarman. Bhima is the man of the people, but an empire is not built on sentiment alone. In the end, power belongs to those who can wield it, not those who simply dream of a better world. Harivarman's defection is sudden and absolute, and Bhima's forces crumble. Bhima's warriors, once driven by ideals of equality and revolution, now scatter in the face of certain doom. The kings who had abandoned him watch from a distance, vindicated in their decision to side with Ramapala. With Harivarman's defection, the last hope of resistance vanishes like a mist before the rising sun. Ramapala's forces storm through the remnants of Bhima's army, sweeping aside the last defenders of Kaivarta rule. Vijayasena and the other warlords press forward, ensuring that no resurgence of rebellion will ever come from these broken ranks. Bhima, the man who once ruled Virendra and dared to challenge the might of the Palas, is once again dragged before Ramapala as a prisoner. The war is over, but the toll of Bhima's betrayal remains. Countless lives lost and an entire realm thrown into chaos. He is led in chains through the streets of the former capital not as a revolutionary hero but as the architect of his own downfall. In the place of execution, he stands before the remnants of his family, those who had enabled his rule and fueled his defiance. One at a time, they fall beneath the executioner's blade, their blood staining the earth as a grim reminder of the price of betrayal. Bhima watches in silence, his once unshakable conviction flickering in his eyes. The turn comes for Bhima's sentence to be carried out. A volley of arrows rains down upon him, piercing his body from every direction. He does not fall silent. In his final moments, he hurls curses and defiant cries, his voice echoing across the execution ground. Even as the arrows pierce his flesh, his fury burns until the very end. And yet, it is not defiance that lingers in the air as his body collapses. It is the weight of justice. With Bhima's death, the rebellion that had shaken Bengal for years comes to an end. Ramapala, the rightful sovereign, stands victorious after restoring order to the fractured land. His Pala lineage and recent conquests uplifts him from the status of a king to the status of emperor. Virendra, once torn from his grasp, is his once more. But conquest is only the beginning. Now he must rebuild, consolidate his rule, and ensure no future rebellion will rise to challenge the might of the Pala Empire. The scars of war run deep, fields left fallow, roads in disrepair, and a people burdened by years of conflict and heavy taxation. But where destruction has taken root, renewal must follow. His first decree spreads across the empire like the monsoon rains, bringing relief to the weary. Taxes are reduced, giving farmers and merchants the breathing room to rebuild their livelihoods. Granaries are replenished, irrigation channels are repaired, and trade routes are re-established. Cultivation flourishes again, and prosperity begins to return to the land. Temples and monasteries, once neglected, now receive royal patronage. Grand developments rise across the empire. Large water tanks, irrigation projects, rows of white palaces, and symmetrical cities. These are not merely monuments to his rule, they are the foundation of a revitalized Pala dominion. Ramapala's sons, raised in the traditions of governance and statecraft, take up the mantle of administration. Under their watchful eyes, order is restored in the provinces, ensuring that justice and stability replace the chaos of war. Lawless elements are subdued, and the cracks left by years of conflict are carefully mended. The governance is firm, yet fair measured, as their father had intended. With peace returning to the villages and markets bustling with trade, the empire's lifeblood begins to flow steadily once more. To mark the resurgence of the Pala Empire, Ramapala establishes his capital at Ramavati. Rising from the fertile plains, it becomes the seat of Pala power, a beacon of stability. He extravagantly spends on construction projects, including the construction of rows of palaces with plenty of gold therein, as well as lofty religious temples. As the administrative heart of the realm, Ramavati houses scholars, ministers, and generals, each working to reinforce the empire's foundations. Ramapala rules from Ramavati with the wisdom of a statesman and the foresight of a builder. Here, surrounded by his sons and loyal vassals, he watches his empire flourish. The Palas are no longer merely reclaiming their past glory, they are forging a new future. In the halls of Ramavati, where the banners of the Pala Empire sway with newfound pride, Ramapala gathers his allies to secure the foundations of his restored realm. Among them stands Harivarman, the ruler of Vikrampur. His loyalty to Ramapala has been tested and proven in the fires of war. His position, once uncertain amongst the shifting tides of conflict, is now solidified under the authority of the Pala Empire. No longer is Harivarman merely a warlord, maneuvering through the political chaos of Bengal. He is now an undisputed sovereign of East Bengal, his rule backed by the stability of Pala governance. As a gesture of gratitude and enduring alliance, he presents Ramapala with war elephants and his own chariots, symbols of strength and sovereignty. The two men embrace for some time, their past struggles giving way to a shared vision of order and prosperity. Further west, Vijayasena's domain in Radha is likewise secured. Long a formidable chieftain in the region, his claim now rests upon the firm foundation of imperial legitimacy. No longer just a warrior carving out his destiny, he stands as a pillar of the empire, with Ramapala's authority cementing his place amongst Bengal's great rulers. Vijayasena had not only proven himself in the battlefields, but had become a symbol of hope and strength to the land. His bravery in the face of Bhima's resistance, his relentless pursuit of victory, and his unwavering loyalty to Ramapala set him apart. But his ambitions extend beyond conquest. To further strengthen his house, he weds Vilas Devi of the Sur dynasty, which is the same dynasty as Laxmisura, who is the lord of Aparamandara and Vijayasena's former brother-in-arms in the conquest of Virendra. It is a union that ties Vijayasena to not only one of Bengal's noble houses, but to a comrade who had stood beside him in war. As Ramapala surveys his empire from the ramparts of Ramavati, he sees not only lands and titles distributed, but the forging of an order that will endure beyond his reign. The storm has passed, and now the work of empire building must begin. Join me in part 3 as we witness Ramapala's attempt at expanding his empire and his struggles against other powers in the region. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this fun map of Bangladesh in the background, please do buy it from the link in the description, as it will help our channel grow. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share, as it will help us immensely. And if you want to go the extra step, please do support us through our Patreon. Catch you all in our next video.